At that time, Caliph Abu Bakr was ruling the Muslim world. The great warrior Khalid ibn al-Walid had created terror worldwide by defeating enemies at home and abroad. The dust raised by the hooves of his horses would rise and blend into the horizon. He was conquering country after country, winning battle after battle. The banner of Islam, adorned with the crescent and star, was flying everywhere. During such a time, a fierce battle broke out between Khalid and the Christian soldiers at the plains of Ajnadain in Syria. The Christian soldiers could not withstand the blows of Khalid's bloodthirsty sword. Defeated, they took refuge in the fortress of Damascus and the Muslim army besieged the fort. The Siege of Damascus. Damascus was then under the rule of the Roman Emperor Heraclius. His son-in-law Thomas was governing this important city on behalf of the emperor. Soon news of the siege of Damascus reached Heraclius's ears. The emperor was not willing to lose such a vital Syrian city to the Muslims. He formed a massive army and sent them to recapture Damascus. Hearing the news of this newly formed Christian army's arrival, Khalid ibn al-Walid fell into a dilemma. Countless Christian soldiers were hiding inside the Damascus fortress, while a massive army was approaching from behind to attack. Khalid consulted with his fellow commanders, Abu Ubaidah, Dhiraar, and others. Following a unanimous decision, they lifted the siege of the fortress one evening and moved forward to face the new army sent by Heraclius. Meanwhile, the people of Damascus were surprised to see the siege suddenly lifted in the darkness of the night. They wondered, is Khalid afraid? Have the Muslims fled? The fortress commander Thomas thought he had found an opportunity. He thought, this is the chance. We must attack from the rear immediately and capture the Muslim women. Driven by lust, Thomas immediately organized his troops. The gates of the fortress were thrown open. The attack on the caravan. Thomas saw that the vanguard led by Khalid had moved far ahead. On the other hand, a small group consisting of women, children and supplies had fallen behind. They were delayed because they were carrying war equipment and goods. The opportunistic Thomas wasted no time in explaining the plan to his soldiers. Some of his troops attacked the guard unit led by Abu Ubaidah and Dhiraar. With the remaining soldiers, Thomas attacked the women at the rear of the caravan. Facing attacks from two sides, the small Muslim group fell into great danger. Not only were they unprepared, but they were also victims of a surprise ambush from two directions. Abu Ubaidah and Dhiraar felt they were in grave peril. However, that was only for a moment. Shortly after, they stabilized the situation and launched a counter-attack on the Christian soldiers. Meanwhile, attacked from the rear, the Muslim women also stood their ground. Though attacked while unprepared, they were not the kind of women to be stunned by danger. They knew how to face the enemy. A fierce battle began. The women built a resistance with whatever they could find at hand. They became so engrossed in the heat of battle that it took them quite some time to realize what was happening elsewhere. At one stage they discovered that they had been cut off from the male warriors, and Thomas's commander's forces had surrounded them from all sides, slowly pushing them towards the Damascus fortress. The Circle of Fire. Among these distressed women was Khawla. Her full name was Khawla Bint al-Azwar. She was the sister of the great warrior Dhiraar bin al-Azwar. The mentality of never giving up was in her blood. She was incomparable in courage and unique in heroism. Also in the group of besieged women were Afira's daughter Afira, Utba's daughter Aban, and Noman's daughter Salma. They were all warriors who had fought alongside men in many battles. To surrender helplessly to a few foxes today was terribly shameful for them. When Khawla realized that the Christian soldiers wanted to capture them and take them to the fortress for their entertainment, fire suddenly flashed in her eyes. She began to tremble with rage. She shouted, "O Muslim women, a group of cowards has attacked you like foxes. They are worse than foxes. They lay hands on women in the darkness of the night. Do not lose courage. Do not forget you are women of the Ummah of Muhammad. Muslim blood flows in your veins. Do not forget you were not raised as weaklings. Rather, you were raised with the teachings to suppress cowards." Khawla's speech seemed to ignite a fire in the veins of the women, each of them prepared to face the enemy with renewed energy and conviction. The women stood in a circle facing the enemy. Outside that circle, Khawla drew another circle with her sword. Then she looked at the fortress commander Peter. Fire seemed to rain from her gaze. She roared, "If even one of your soldiers enters this circle, his head will be severed from his body." Although Peter had seen the strength and courage of this heroine before, he looked at his countless soldiers and smiled a smile of contempt. That smile did not escape Khawla's notice. With a drawn sword in hand, she sang a rousing war song. The women became many times more energized and eager to slay the enemy. Some took out swords, some bows and arrows, and some simply uprooted tent poles and stood with immense strength. Sparks of fire seemed to fly from everyone's eyes. The skirmish. Peter saw that it was impossible to suppress these women by force of arms. He could neither defeat them by force of arms nor could he retreat. Finally, he ordered the soldiers to stop. Then, looking at the fiery figure of Khawla, he said, "I am Thomas, the commander of the Damascus fortress. As a woman, the infinite strength you showed today, by God, I have not seen even in a man. Although I am impressed by your heroism, I offer a good proposal. Surrender with your companions without a fight. I promise no woman will be mistreated, and I, Peter, the Lord of Damascus, wish to marry you. Not as a slave, I wish to have you as my queen." This proposal from the Christian commander was like pouring ghee onto fire. Khawla burned with double the heat. She roared, "I am the daughter of al-Azwar. I am the sister of Dhiraar, the Dhiraar who appears bare-chested on the battlefield and seeing whom your armored warriors flee. Being the sister of that hero, will I marry a coward like you whose hand does not tremble to touch womankind in the darkness of the night? Husband is a far cry. I would not even accept you as a shepherd for my animals." Her whole body trembled with hatred at the insult to a woman. She signaled something to the archer, Ziyan, standing nearby. No one understood anything, but Ziyan understood the language of Khawla's eyes perfectly. In an instant, she pulled the string of her bow. A sharp arrow flew with a whoosh sound, aiming at the commander. Screaming, the Roman commander collapsed to the ground. The arrival of the naked warrior. Meanwhile, a group of horsemen were seen rushing from a distance shouting, "Allahu Akbar." The man who was at the very front of that storm-like group spinning a naked sword in the air looked very strange. The lower part of his body was covered in cloth, but there was not a single thread on his upper body. Although the young man's face could not be seen in the dark, the Christians made no mistake in recognizing him. This is Dhiraar. The head of many great Roman warriors had fallen to the ground at the hands of this half-naked warrior. The stories of mad Dhiraar were discussed in Roman fortresses like fairy tales. With the appearance of Dhiraar, looking like Israel, the souls of the Christian soldiers were about to leave their bodies. After being beaten by a group of women, they had no courage to face Dhiraar. They broke rank and ran for their lives towards the fortress, locked the gate from the inside, and thanked the Creator.
The Mystery Night. The feat Khawla showed that day, a few hundred yards from the Damascus fortress, remains unforgettable in history. However, such a feat was not the first for her. She proved her worth many times before and after. Once, even the sword of Allah, Khalid ibn al-Walid, was startled seeing Khawla's deeds. Khalid was speechless that day, witnessing how much strength, courage, and fire a woman could hold within herself. I will end with that story of Khawla's heroism. This event occurred when the Muslims had besieged the Damascus fortress. A messenger came and informed Khalid that a Roman army of unknown numbers was advancing from Homs toward Damascus. Khalid was, of course, already prepared for such a surprise attack by the enemy. He quickly formed a cavalry unit of 5,000 soldiers and sent them under the leadership of Dhiraar bin al-Azwar to intercept the approaching Christian group. However, he warned Dhiraar, "If the enemy's number is too high, do not engage in battle, but send me news." Of course, this warning had no importance to the reckless Dhiraar because the quality called caution was almost absent in his character. Dhiraar left Damascus with 5,000 horsemen. After crossing a long distance, he lay in wait near a low hill. When the Roman army reached the hill, Dhiraar's cavalry pounced on them. However, the incoming Christian group was also aware of such surprise attacks beforehand. They quickly stood in battle formation and built a resistance. A terrible battle began between the two sides. While attacking, Dhiraar saw that the number of Roman soldiers was at least double that of the Muslims. But it didn't matter to him. As I said before, caution was not in his character. He continued to strike the enemy with tremendous speed. His soldiers followed him. But Dhiraar was fighting so recklessly that he penetrated deep into the enemy lines. The Christians cut him off from the other Muslim soldiers and surrounded him from all sides. When they recognized that this was the Romans slaying half-naked Dhiraar, they were quite elated. They decided to capture Dhiraar alive and send him as a gift to Emperor Heraclius. An arrow shot by a Roman archer pierced Dhiraar's right arm, and blood began to flow from the wound. As the Romans advanced toward him from all sides, he continued to fight even in his wounded state. However, eventually weakened by the blows of the opponents, they managed to capture him. Dhiraar's deputy commander was Rafi bin Umayyah. He was also a skilled commander. He took command and launched several consecutive attacks. His goal was to break the Roman defense line, enter inside, and rescue Dhiraar. But every attempt failed, because the Romans deployed all their strength to keep Dhiraar captured. At this moment, their only goal was not to let the captive Dhiraar slip away. Rafi realized it was not possible for this small Muslim army to break the Roman defense and rescue Dhiraar. He sent a message to Khalid appealing for help. The rescue mission. When this news reached Khalid, he fell into deep thought. A commander like Dhiraar being captured by Christians was bad news for him. He decided to go rescue Dhiraar himself with some warriors. However, so that the Christians besieged in the fort could not know about Khalid's departure, he waited until midnight. Late at night, when every light in the Damascus fortress went out and every soldier went to rest, Khalid handed over the responsibility of the besieging Muslim army to Abu Ubaidah and set off. He had a group of 4,000 horsemen with him. Just before the break of dawn, Khalid's cavalry reached near the battlefield. By then, the second day of battle had started between Rafi's forces and the Romans. Desperate to free Dhiraar, the Muslims were exhausted from launching attack after attack. On the other hand, ignoring the calculation of victory or defeat, the Christians stood firm like rocks, merely repelling the Muslim army's attacks. Like the previous day, today their only goal was not to let Dhiraar escape. Rafi realized it was not possible for this small Muslim army to break the Roman defense and rescue Dhiraar. He sent a message to Khalid appealing for help. The Mystery Night. As Khalid was advancing toward the battlefield, he noticed a Muslim horseman pass him by tremendous speed from behind and move to the front of the Roman army. Before Khalid could stop him, he had passed him. That slender soldier was wearing armor over black clothes. Besides a sword was a spear in hand. A green turban was on the head, and the face was covered with a scarf so nothing but 2 eyes could be seen. Reaching the battlefield, Khalid saw that the said soldier was presenting himself before the enemy in such a way that the present warriors thought him to be mad. Before Khalid reached there, many thought that soldier was perhaps Khalid. But Rafi said, "He attacks with Khalid's swiftness, true, but he is certainly not Khalid." And just then, Khalid arrived. In a short time, Khalid combined Rafi's team and his fast guard team into a coordinated force. Meanwhile, that masked soldier, riding the horse with skill and striking with a spear, had already killed several Roman soldiers. His continuous attacks impressed the present Muslims and created a terrifying atmosphere among the Romans. He would go close to the Roman soldiers' position, kill an enemy soldier with the spear, then quickly rush to the other side and finish off another enemy in the same way. Seeing the situation worsening, several Romans came forward together to stop him. But under the spear blows of that unknown, reckless Muslim soldier, they were all floored. The Muslims, mesmerized by this spectacular event, still did not know the identity of this soldier. They saw nothing but a figure covered in cloth and two bright eyes above a mask. With blood-stained clothes and spear, the rider was striking the Romans one after another in such a way that it seemed he was engaged in a suicide game. The example of his self-sacrificing attitude created new courage and enthusiasm among the Muslim warriors. Forgetting all fatigue, as soon as they received Khalid's order, they pounced on the opponents with double enthusiasm. The reveal. Khalid went to that warrior and asked, "O soldier, show me your face and tell me who you are." But the soldier did not speak to Khalid. Looking at Khalid once, he galloped away to strike the next blow. Several warriors went to him and said, "O great hero, your commander is calling you and you are turning your face away from him. Show your face and tell your name so that we can honor you." The rider moved away again. It was as if he deliberately wanted to keep his identity secret. As the soldier was passing by Khalid after striking the enemy again, Khalid ordered him to stop in a very firm voice. Pulling the reins of the horse, he said, "The glory of your self-sacrifice has fascinated us, but tell me who you are. As a commander, I surely have the right to know your identity." As if compelled, the soldier began to speak. And when she started speaking, Khalid received a tremendous shock with the very first word uttered. It felt like he would fall from his horse. The voice of this ideal soldier revealed that this was no male warrior, but merely a young woman. The female voice told Khalid, "O commander, I only wanted to stay away from you out of modesty. You are a great conquering commander, and I am one of those who stay in tents. I left the tent because today the fire of rage is burning in my heart." Khalid asked, "Who are you? What is your identity?" The female voice said, "I am Dhiraar's sister, Khawla. My brother is a prisoner in the hands of the enemy." Khalid said, "Blessed is your father al-Azwar, who fathered a daughter like you and a son like Dhiraar. Come then, let us attack the enemy together." Then the two of them pounced on the enemy with equal heroism. The invigorated Muslim army now struck a blow that the Christians could not withstand. Within a short time, their defense line collapsed. Meanwhile, a small group of 100 horsemen led by Rafi rescued Dhiraar. And in this small cavalry group led by Rafi was the heroine Khawla as well. The defeated Christian army was forced to retreat toward Homs, abandoning the hope of recapturing Damascus. Not only in the Siege of Damascus, but the heroine Khawla was present in every battle fought between Muslim and Christian forces in Syria under Khalid's leadership. Specifically, details of her participation in the Battle of Yarmouk are known. In that battle, when some Muslim soldiers began to flee under the intense pressure of the Christians, the women beat them with tent poles and sent them back to the battlefield. Not only that, many women left their tents, moved forward, and jumped into the battlefield. They fought against the Christians with swords in hand. One of those indomitably brave women of Yarmouk was Khawla Bint al-Azwar.